This is Tweet Street Satirical Saltire, broadcasting to you for unoccupied Scotland, amplifying women's voices and saying women won't waste. This is Tweet Street Satirical Saltire, broadcasting to you for unoccupied Scotland, amplifying women's voices and saying women won't waste.
Welcome to Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, or Tweet Street Occupied Scotland, everyone. I'm Cinnamon Bridges, aka Peter. With us this evening, as usual, my co-host is JB Whitesnake. All right, John, how's it going, buddy?
Not bad, Peter. Good to see you as usual.
And you, mate, and you. How's things at home? Everything all right?
No bad. Surviving. No putting the heat on anyway, that's for sure.
Oh, well, we'll get to that in a wee bit. We've got a guest returning, as true to her word, Michelle said to us after we done the show just before the conference that she would like to come back on after the conference, give us a wee update. It's Michelle Ferns that's with us this evening. So hi again, Michelle, how are you doing?
Hi guys, hi Peter, hi John, how are you guys doing?
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Aye, we're all good. Thank you very much for coming back on and so soon after the conference. I know that you didn't get the deputy gig that you were running for. However, like our last guest that we had on, Barhead Boy, Rodney McLeod, you are a member now of the NEC, the Albert NEC, is that correct?
Yes. I didn't, as you say, win the deputy leadership, but I think I put up a decent showing. And of course, the winner, Kenny, as you know, is an outstanding politician and a fine and gracious man. So the Albert Party are well served by the deputy leader.
I totally agree. I mean, it's one of them. I watched a lot of the conference online, Michelle, and I saw a lot of speeches. I saw a lot of things since, and I was very, very impressed. I must say, as somebody that would class themselves as a middle of the road and a non-party affiliated, I was really impressed what I heard, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. If I'm honest, it's one of the ones I'm keen to see what's next. So well done for such a great conference, certainly for the way I looked at it. So well done.
That's fantastic to hear, especially because you describe yourself as middle of the road or politically unaffiliated, I suppose. That's exactly what we wanted the conference to be. There was always after the lockdown, after people being, cut off from each other for so long, it's always great at conference to come face to face with, old friends and new. But what struck me most about conference was that it's the most I've talked about actual politics for a long time, although I work daily in politics. Lots of conferences in my old party had seemed a bit like, I'm trying to think of something not rude to say. What I usually describe it was described as a bit of a circle jerk in terms of, it was about, aren't we great? Yes, we're fantastic, we're the best. Does anybody disagree? No, we all think we're the best. There was never really any remitting back. There was never any really meaty amendments. There was never any sense that the policies were being designed and created by the membership and moved up. It felt like things were being imposed on the membership. So in Alaba, hopefully that's the thing that every member that came to the conference and that watched the conference, and people who are not members but just interested to see what Alaba are doing, hopefully that's the takeaway that they got from it, is that there was robust debate, as there should be. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think there's any policy that's not been made better by people offering evidence against interest. It gives us a chance to, really look into the meats of what we're proposing as our manifesto and our constitution. So it was really good. It was very positive. Everybody felt, I think, energised, as you do with conference. You come back and you feel like ready to work hard. So.
Aye, well, certainly what I got, and I said that afterwards. It's Twitter that John and I do, and I noticed a lot of things on Twitter, a lot of positive comments about the local communities being helped out by the amount of people that attended, and it gave me a feel-good factor just reading the comments. So kudos to the organisers for picking the place that they picked.
I think that's an important point. Chris McElhaney, who's our General Secretary, you know, he particularly wanted to pick a place for conference that wouldn't, you know, you would see a hit to their local economy. You would see your local hotels filled, your pubs bustling, your cafes. And it was really successful for Greenock as well as for the conference. I'm sure they'd be happy to welcome us back. But that started a conversation about, you know, why do we always have our conferences in big grand buildings and, you know, big cities? Maybe we should be, you know, imagine if we went to a scheme. Could you imagine?
Aye.
For a couple, imagine the local small, medium businesses and enterprises and hotels and stuff. So it can make a huge difference to the local economy. So I'm pleased that that's something we'll look at in the future rather than just going to the grand buildings.
It's good to hear. No, I put a background up. I was trying to organise this really hastily before we come on for recording, so you can't quite make it out. But it's actually, and I'll fix this in the edit, it should be the Wee Alba book. I was excited to hear that coming out for conference. John and I have spoken previously about how influential the Wee Blue book was in the lead up to IndieRef and how we referred to it. Well, I certainly did, and John said to me offline that he'd referred to it quite a few times in the lead up to 2014. So I think it's a bit of a coup to get this and the people that's going to be contributing to it behind the scenes to get that. I think it's a bit of a coup. John, what do you think yourself, mate?
Yeah, I hope it's just as positive and as challenging to the British establishment, and they make it. I'm sure they will talk up Scotland, because we don't want to get into the trench fight and fighting Scottish politics with any party. They want to put the positive vision for an independent Scotland, and that's what people who are not affiliated to any party, whether it be SNP or Alba, want to hear. They want to see the positive vision of an independent Scotland. I think that's vital. I'm sure they'll do that and focus on it.
So, Michelle, given that John's getting pulled away there. Given that, sorry, John, were you finished there before you were?
Yeah, sorry, I called it and shut the door.
Right, Michelle, given that what John said and the fact that we can expect something, when can we expect it?
Oh, you're hoping for a wee exclusive here.
Aye, well, of course, aye.
Sooner rather than later. That's about as close as I can give you. I think, John, your point there was really important. What we, a lot of times in the run-up to the referendum campaign in 2014, the Wee Blue book was like your Independence Bible, really. It was perfect for making the case. See, on stalls and at doors where you had 10 minutes where you basically could say, here's a big list of why it'll be better for you in terms of not just the turnout for the referendum, which was 84.5%, the highest turnout in over 100 years, the most engaged an electorate have been with a vote. And actually, even the 100 years ago, hardly anybody had the vote. So the big turnout then was a big turnout of a very small proportion of people that were allowed to vote. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's ever been a vote like it in my life. The Wee Blue book was really instrumental, not just for constituents, but for people like me who, weren't the experts in the economic questions. The white paper was massive. And I think I did make my way through it, but, it took weeks, even months, for me to have the time to kind of to absorb all the detail. But the Wee Blue book was great for giving you, wee capsules of information. So
bite-sized chunks.
So the influence that had, I don't think can be underestimated. And hopefully the same with this book, because it wasn't from a party political standpoint. Of course, it was political in terms of pursuing Scotland's independence and why we absolutely should do it with confidence, as John said, because that's important. It's with confidence and hope and courage, So sooner rather than later, I can only tell you that I'm looking forward to reading it as much as you guys are, particularly because the calibre of the people that are contributing to it. Now, controversial they might be. To my mind, controversial for the right reasons. Robin McAlpine has been a voice speaking up for the left for as long as that I could remember. He penned one of my favourite sayings when we talk about class, and Robin said, yes, it's not a class war, it's a class massacre. And that's something that's always stuck in my head. And of course, Stuart, people will have different opinions on who he is or isn't as a man or a personality, but I don't think anyone can argue with the credibility of the information that he offered, which is subsequently proved to be true. So,
well, we're noticing that even as we speak, there was an announcement come out from Thai about the implementation of transgender teaching into schools over the past hour and a half that I've seen on Twitter. Have you seen anything yourself on that, Michelle? Or is it? I'm not like put you in the spot. Have you seen anything about it?
I haven't been on Twitter for a couple of hours, but I suppose my feeling is that any announcements will only be catching up with guidance that's already been practiced in schools anyway. It's a bit like putting the rubber stamp on it. But de facto, that guidance has already been shared and I think practiced widely in schools across Scotland. The same as the guidance, the recent guidance you'll have seen from Scottish Government about how to deal with the trans or the gender issue across schools. Really, lots of really, really concerning stuff there, including issues around breast binding. Unbelievable as it is that we're discussing something like that in Scotland in 2021. To me, it's akin to foot binding. Also,
where are we?
I just don't think it's such a huge subject. It's not one that can be covered in 5 minutes, and it's, despite the best interests in both camps on Twitter, it's a complicated and nuanced argument, and that's why it's so important that all of the voices that have something to add to that debate are listened to, are brought into the room, and women's and children's issues around safeguarding and their safe spaces have to be allowed into the argument. That what's happened up till now is that we've kind of developed, I think, a bunker mentality. So it doesn't matter what that side says. This side's going to describe them as transphobes and bigots and hate-filled, and I think that's really where the problem is, because there's a lot of heat and no light, and it's really difficult to go forward from that position. I do think that any organisation that has an issue with people insisting that they are liable to the same safeguarding issues as any other organisation, I just don't understand why any organisation wouldn't want to do that. Why wouldn't you want to have good, robust conversations around safeguarding? I've got 4 kids, one of them's still at school, the other one's just went to uni. And although she's an older teenager, if school wants to give her Calpol, they have to phone me for permission. Mm-hmm. If they want to give her inhaler, they have to phone me for permission. As far as the law is concerned, up until the point that she's legally an adult, I'm completely legally responsible for her physical and emotional well-being. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how that can be true at the same time as we have a government telling our schools to tell our kids that it's all right to have secrets that you keep from your parents, especially something so has got the potential to have lifelong consequences for people's health, emotional health. I mean, I don't know about you guys if you've got kids, but I could tell you that my kids change their mind from 6 months to 6 months, from year to year, what they are. And my middle boy went through a period of a year and a half thinking he was the Red Ranger for Power Rangers, and insisted on being called Rocky. I think the issue around trans, especially for young people, is a difficult one, and people that need support absolutely shouldn't be left without it. However, from my point of view, and this is probably going to be controversial saying this, but I think we've got to the point where we've just got to be straight talking. For me, trans and people with gender dysphoria, genuine gender dysphoria, and every medical body would agree that the people that have those kind of issues that pursue the gender recognition certificate go down that route because they have genuine gender dysphoria. For me, just rushing in with surgery, puberty blockers and double mastectomies is absolutely, it's horrendous. The idea of that's no logical to me. if my daughter or my son were suffering from some other type of dysphoria, like say something like an eating disorder. Now, of course, you'd want to support them through that, but you wouldn't do that by affirming the eating disorder. Or if people were self-harming or, doing, yes, you would want to support them through that, but I wouldn't support them by taking them the razor blades and say, look, I'm going to watch while you only cut so far and to make sure the blades are, sterilising, you're doing that as safely as possible. No, you want to support and look beyond that to the distress and try to deal with that. So, there's issues about safeguarding about that. That's one issue. The infringement on women-only spaces is a different issue, but that is also really important. And the other issue is, of course, the very sinister thing is that that we're being told that there's no debate. There is absolutely no debate about this. Now, the Equalities Law enshrines the rights of people with a gender recognition certificate, and that's right and proper that they do. It's a protected characteristics for those that have a certificate. Where the issue is with self-ID, where we're basically saying that, that anybody who wants to identify as a woman, without going down those legal routes under the Equality Act, that I think are there to protect people as much as those people, as much as anything else. I think that in the misinterpretation, willful misinterpretation, as that the Equality Law says that trans women are women. That's not at all what it says. It says that you can't be like anyone else who has a protected characteristic. You can't be discriminated against in employment when your protection's under the law, and being excluded from public places or social spaces because of your protected characteristic. That's absolutely right. It doesn't give you extra rights. It gives you the same rights as everyone else.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting. If any of those like really extreme trans lobbies people can explain to me what rights that trans people don't have under the law right now, I'm happy to listen. But for me, it's about 2 years into this debate, and I've still to hear what rights a trans person has that I don't have. So you get lots of stuff about you'll have to wait lots of people have to wait a long time. Unfortunately, our NHS, well, sure you want to talk about that later in your programme, but lots of people have to, the wanting of something doesn't guarantee you having it when you want it, how you want it, and being put above, prioritised about other people's needs. Distress should be dealt with and supported, and people should always feel safe, but that's all people. But women can't be excluded about conversation about what it is to be a woman. I'm not taking any lectures of, excuse me, but some wee beardy guy who is younger than my wains, who wants to tell me what it is to be a woman. Every day of my life is defined by my biological sex, from what I earn, to the care that I give, to the expectations of the functions that I'm expected to carry out. So yeah, I'm done. I'm done taking lectures on and trying to make people feel, the whole be kind thing. Try to make people feel not challenged. I'm sorry, the situation is challenging for women and girls, and it requires people to speak up. Well,
given that the background I've put up is a wee bit controversial, probably. Now, over the past 10 days or so, 2 weeks, 10 days, we've heard the First Minister saying that women's concerns aren't valid. We have heard some trans experts saying that, well, if women are killed, we will consider what happens then. We've got MPs no longer voting for energy companies. We've got enforced increases in tax. We're losing our right to be an independent nation before 2023, as far as some MPs have hinted at over the past few days. So we've gone from seeking independence, where we were taking heads, to having to dress up and put makeup on so that we can give head. I don't see that as where Scotland should ever be. John, what's your take on that, mate?
The situation is mind-boggling. Like that, it's a minefield, but I'm very much the opinion that there should be safe spaces for women and kids, and it's horrific to me to think that kids are going to grow up with this pressure of well, they shouldn't have at that age. It's just allowed to be kids and enjoy growing up and try and get an education and be part of a family. And I'm sure if they do have these problems, the majority of the families would be very supportive in the first case.
Absolutely.
If involved. So it's an absolute minefield.
It's bizarre because where we've got to in the situation now is that biological women are not allowed to be called adult human females, but trans women absolutely are. It is bizarre. Of course, it's bizarre. Women have highly attuned societal, I suppose, not just societal, but built into us. We're built to recognise what are threats to us, who are threats to us. Women have learned that for good reason. You know, women have safe spaces and they were fought for because women really needed them. And, you know, it's not just women that recognise that, men recognise that. I'm sure you guys recognise that if your wife or daughter is going out. I certainly know if I'm passing a group of women and I'm on the phone to one of my sons on the way home, he's fine. If I see him passing a pub with loads of guys outside, he insists I stay on the phone till I get past. He knows who's a threat to me. I know who's a threat to me. And I know why these safe spaces are so important. We need to get away from the idea that women are justifying again their need for those spaces. Those spaces are already ours. Those rights were hard fought for and hard won. I'm in the position now when I'm saying, no, you justify to me why you're entitled to come into my space. Do you think that male-bodied people have the right to bring their penis into my daughter's changing room, in my teenage daughter? Because I'm saying, no, tell me why you think you have the right to do that, because I don't think you have. I think we have to get off the back foot. Women were trying to be kind, and in being kind, it's a bit like when you don't say no to a bully. You know, I'm kind of the place where, you know, if you give the bully your dinner money, he'll just be back tomorrow for your trainers and the next day for your phone. At some point, you have to go, do you know what? No, the answer is just no. And people are not like that. And you know, well, tough shit. It's still no.
It's standing up for yourself, and it doesn't help matters when you've got people that so when you've got Mary Hunter, people like Mary Hunter saying what she's saying and running down like women to support the trans rights issues.
He said, and the really hot topic you'll be aware of about the CEO of Edinburgh Rape Crisis, who's a biological male. So even under the equality law, it says that even if you have a GRC, which as far as I'm aware, that person doesn't have, right? That person doesn't have a GRC certificate, which would, in some cases under the equality law, say that you can access some women's spaces. But even with the GRC, the equality law recognises there are some places that are not appropriate for men. They're not appropriate, they're services that are reserved and spaces that are reserved for women. That person is the CEO of Rape Crisis. Now, apart from the fact that under the equality law, I don't think that's been legally challenged. If it were, I really struggle to see how that would stand up in law.
How they could remain in position. I totally agree with you, Michelle.
But more offensive than that, Peter, this person then gets to tell traumatised and abused women who are trying to access rape crisis services, in a lot of cases with their children. You know,
reframe
women
their trauma.
To reframe their traumas. You're going to be told at the doors, you're going to be checked to make sure you have the correct political views in terms of trans. You're talking about less than 1% of the population here. You know, women are not a minority. They're 52% of the population. We're going to be, them and their kids are going to be told before they can access services they need because they've suffered trauma, distress and anguish. They have to be checked for having the correct type of thinking. Nobody with any kind of trauma training in the world treats their service users like that, treats distressed and traumatized women like that. No. It's absurd. And in my view, it's obfuscation. It's kind of look over the shiny thing over here while we're doing this.
Aye, to try and distract it.
You're saying yesterday with the council that you mentioned, you seen all of a sudden it'll pop up because she knows it's clickbait, right? It's distraction. It's smoke and mirrors. You know, look at this stuff over here, and nobody's looking at the fact that we committed to an energy company in 2017. We quietly dropped it 3 weeks ago after spending £500 million on it. We went to our conference. Our conference voted 98% to attract this in. And what did we see in the Parliament? We've seen that the Greens and the SNP government line up to vote against their own policy, against members' preferred wishes. I mean, this is what they don't want you looking at. And that's why it's not that the issue is, you know, is not important. Of course it is, it's incredibly important, but so is national insurance. So is the fact that our hospitals we're having to set up military field hospitals. You know, so is the fact that the universal credit contributions are about to shrink. There's a whole perfect storm of shit that's going to hit Scottish people one after the other. And we're too busy talking about people's gender. And this is that is, for me, it's unforgivable. It's literally fiddling while Rome burns. You know, Scotland's under attack from a Westminster government. The you know, attack on jobs, an attack on wages, an attack on universal credit, an attack on our devolved governments and our right to ask our own people if we want to be an independent country, and we're wasting time with this. As I said, it's not to mean anybody who's going through that particular that particular distress, and obviously I think that it shouldn't be framed as women against trans women. It shouldn't be, you know, it's a lot of, I think, obfuscation, smoke and mirrors, distractions, and Mary's very good at that. If you look at when anything serious is happening, she'll always be sent out to, you know, offer some sort of clickbait. The last one that she offered, which was ridiculous about that CEO, was that having listened to everyone, she thought the most important person to hear in the debate about the Edinburgh rape crisis was a trans woman's voice.
Aye, rather than any other woman. It's totally, it's ridiculous. Now, we're going in a wee bit deep here, so to try and lighten up a wee bit here, let's try and lighten up a wee bit and bring a wee bit of cartoon into it. So in other news, Miss Piggy is taking it hard and striking out at our ex-partner, saying that they were telling lies. So I'm going to do a wee screen share, and we'll see just what you think of this. Hold on a minute, screen share. And there we go. Well, I'm just going to press play. What's the crack? It's in a fire somewhere. Michelle, you sound as if you're in demand there.
No?
No, it's just ding, 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 ding.
Oh, I'm really sorry. Do you know what? I'll be stuffed, but I'll put this away.
Right, are you ready for Miss Piggy on her attack on?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go, John. This is the attack of the 77th. It happens every time I do this. Right, hold on.
You're using 98, man.
I've always got a backup though.
I want you to know that he was wrong. When Kermit the Frog sang, "It's not easy being green." You remember that one? I want you to know that he was wrong.
So that was Miss Piggy having a wee strike back at Kermit the Frog, where he said it's not easy being green, that he was lying. So I wonder how Kermit's got to come back with this. I wonder if he's got to respond in kind. What's your thoughts, John, about our representative abroad there?
Well, it's just made Britain a global laughingstock even more than it was before. I mean, think what's happening with the climate, people's homes been lost, people dying, lots of people going to die because of climate change. And here's old Boris making a jolly jake. And as you can see, he had them rolling in the aisles. They all loved them to bits. I mean, they're all staring at this guy thinking, where is he from? Is he on crack? Is he smoking the devil's lettuce? What is he on about and where is he coming from? And that's the most senior politician in the UK. They must think that he makes Trump look good. And that's the biggest insult I can fling at that clown.
All that was missing was the tumbleweed, John. Michelle, what was your thoughts on that?
John says the silence was deafening. It was absolutely cringing for him. And actually, do you know what I mean? He's standing up there and he must. John says about making us a laughing stock. Come on. That ship's already sailed.
I won't go. It's sunk. It's sunk.
Yes, but to be fair, you know, he makes Dominic Raab look fucking competent. You know what I mean? And that's no easy. But yes, he's a bumbling fool. But the important point you made there, John, is because of course he's not engaged with how tough his decisions are made, because it doesn't affect him. You know, it's all some sort of, it's all a game. It's all some abstract, you know, for him and his mates, you know. And regardless of whatever, he's never going to be at the sharp end of his own policies. Never going to be short of a tenner to put in the power card. That's just the truth of it. So it's embarrassing, but at the same time, I love to see him up there fucking sweating like Vegas Elvis, not really knowing what to say. And everybody, the absolute contempt that everybody had.
And that's you see what's happening there. He's out his comfort bubble. He's not at BBC Studio or Sky News or GB News. He's not got the cheerleaders there to back him up and laugh at his stupid, asinine jokes. And they're looking at him thinking, what is this guy? He's not got the protection of his bubble that he's given in the UK.
Right,
Napoleon's right, just to go say that never interrupt your enemy when they're making a tactical mistake. And in Glasgow vernacular, if somebody's making an absolute fud of themselves, let the world see. You know, this is the prime. I remember doing a wee meme, 2014, 2015. No, it would have been 2015. I did a wee meme with a picture of Boris Johnson on one side and Trump on the other. And I thought it was really dark and sinister and going, God, imagine, right? So, and then I really could not believe it, even amongst politicians that are no the brightest. Boris was acknowledged as a joke, a caricature, you know, somebody who wasn't connected with reality, really. I once seen him in Westminster. This might make you laugh, and he was bending down to tie his lace. I don't think I can get to jail for this, but if I do, you need to edit it out. Right, okay. When he was bending down, I thought, you know, I could give him a right good kick up the arse, see him done pass it. But then I noticed the police and all that with all the machine guns. I thought, you know, I'd never buy a drink in Scotland again. But I did. So,
you definitely not buy a drink in my house anyway, that's for sure, if you've done that. Right, now we're coming to the end of the show. I just wanted to drop a wee couple of things first. We've got a couple of shows coming up, John. We have a show with Dr. James Hawes coming up next week. We also have Nadira Murray, Craig Murray's wife, coming up, who to give us a wee bit an insight into how it's affecting her at home and just general details about Craig and the case itself. And we're in talks with quite a few others at the minute. So Michelle, really quickly, I'll give you a minute to say what can we expect for you.
Well, just said I'm on the NEC, so right now it's all about getting our ducks in a row as much as we can for council. I'm hoping that we'll be having a spring conference. Got loads and loads of interest in having another women's forum. Our women's forum was really well attended, and there's been, you know, a lot of interest for another one. So in terms of kind of like party stuff, that's what's coming up. It's about kind of getting ready for council elections for myself. Be marching on Saturday in Edinburgh, a lot with all supporters of independence of all political parties and none, as it should be, all under one banner, and just keeping up the pressure, I guess, doing what I can to speak to guys like you know, put my wee thoughts on Twitter, go to the marches. We're all only individuals, you know, that we can, or individually it doesn't maybe count for much, but when we all come together, it all adds up to something, I think.
Well, this is true. John, you want to say good night, mate?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us, Michelle. Much appreciate your company and your wisdom. We'll do it again. Thank you.
Michelle, thanks very much for everybody at Tweet Street. A wee message to your fellow NEC buddy, Roddy, who I believe is unwell at the minute. Just get well soon. He was on last week, so and
I watched
you watch it. Aye, it was something different. So thanks to everybody, and we'll be getting more people on. Well, we've got Neil Hanvey coming on. We've already secured him, so we're just arranging a date. So we'll get a date for that secured in the next couple of days or so and get that out to you as well, guys. So for Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, for Cinnamon Bridges, for JB Whitesnake, for Michelle Ferns, it's good night. Thanks very much. Catch you again soon. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Michelle. Thanks.
This is what we call the Margaret Show. Green smoke.
This is Tweet Street Satirical Saltire, broadcasting to you for Unoccupied Scotland. Amplifying women's voices and saying women won't waste. This is Tweet Street Satirical Saltire, broadcasting to you for Unoccupied Scotland. Amplifying women's voices and saying women won't waste.